What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi here, flying solo. Had to do it a little early tonight. Sorry about that. Still waiting on Yankee weather and Washington weather. Both of those are a little bit pretty important. Yankees, obviously, Garrett Cole, and also the bats are very interesting for the Yankees, even without Aaron Judge. So that's one I don't have an answer for you on. I'm going to try and get some more updated stuff as we get closer to lock, but it's tricky right now to get that weather down. So. And I also like Josiah Gray as a little bit of an off-the-board play. They've never seen him before, all that stuff. He's got upside, and he's going to be low-owned, and that's what I think we do. So I'm going to go through my current ownership of pitchers, which is definitely subject to change because of the weather. I'm down to 35% Cole. I had like 65%, but even the possibility of a delay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll probably, and right now he's in 50% of my high buy-in stuff. I'm probably going to drop Cole into the 30 some odd percent range, and then if I get a go ahead with the weather, I'm going to play more. If I don't, I am going to play less. So 35% Cole. I have 20% Luis Garcia just because we need other pitchers on this slate, and the most obvious ones, the ones I have the most of, are Spencer Strider's my highest owned pitcher. Dylan Cease against a team that doesn't strike out and has sort of had his number, even though it hasn't been that many at bats, is a little worrisome to me, but I think the upside is too much to ignore. So I'm going to play some Dylan Cease. I'm going to get really gross with some Bubic, some Otto. I have one Chris Sale lineup. I am not high on Chris Sale, but I am going to take one shot because it will feel kind of stupid if I'm playing a bunch of lineups and I don't have them in one. And I also feel very iffy about some of the other pitchers, especially once we get past Garrett Cole. I have 20% Logan Webb. Because he hasn't struck anybody out in the last couple outings, I'm not going to let that bother me too much. He's a really good real-life pitcher. It really depends on game flow. And if you like San Francisco to get ahead in this game, which I think they have a good chance to do, Logan Webb might be able to pitch a little bit freer, and you might see that K number rise a little bit as opposed to where it's at right now. He hasn't faced Arizona, I believe, this season. Is that right? It's sort of surprising. I think he's a really interesting pivot off of the C's and Strider guys. So I'm going to play some of him. Again, gross with Bubic, Caprillion, and Otto. Those are my get gross guys. In terms of position, my highest owned player right now is Wilson Contreras. I know he's expensive, but I do like the Cubs today, and I like Baltimore as well. I want to get more confirmation on this wind. It's a little rough right now to get getting sort of conflicting reports. So. If the wind is blowing out, I don't mind taking that spend all the way up for Contreras and figure things out. Kirk in my Toronto stacks, Sanchez in my Minnesota stacks, Nola in a couple of Padres stacks, but only then I'm doing it with like the Cubs or Baltimore because I want some low ownership. And those are mostly the guys I'm using. Sebi Zavala in a couple of White Sox stacks. That's the other one. I do like the White Sox a little bit tonight. So Luke Voigt is my highest owned first baseman. Even if I'm not playing stacks, I think he makes a lot of sense for mini stacks, even as a one-off. Vlad Guerrero, Jose Abreu, Rizzo behind him. Again, we'll see about Rizzo. And then you've got the Andrew Vaughn and Jose Abreu. One of those two guys are going to be on my White Sox stacks. Second base, Cronenworth is the obvious one. I like Wilmer Flores a lot. I like Polanco, again, probably more in stacks, but I think he's okay either way. A little expensive. LeMahieu or Glaber if we get the go ahead, or my other second baseman, and Josh Harrison in some of my full on stacks of the White Sox. Third base, Wisdom. I love. Again, I really want to take some shots here with these Cubs, especially if we do have that wind blowing out. Wisdom, a ton of power. I don't expect him to be too popular tonight. Josh Donaldson in Yankee stacks, obviously. Machado is the clear top play, but I think you can go other routes. Matt Chapman in my Toronto stacks, or Urshela I've got a little bit of in some of my Minnesota stacks. And then Josh Smith, I think, is a good play either in stacks or as a one-off at his price. Shortstop, Abrams in some San Diego stacks, assuming that he's in, or Kim. We'll see what happens with their stack. I don't have their lineup out yet, so it may have come out while I just logged on, but I'm not sure. I don't have it yet. I have a ton of Happ and a ton of Ortega in the outfield. They're probably my two highest owned outfielders at the moment. Again, I do like these Cubs. I'm probably going to be a little lower on them than I am now, but I'm very high on them at the moment. Rooker, again, if he's in the lineup and depending on where he's hitting for San Diego at 2K is obviously interesting. I like Gurriel, Springer in my Toronto stacks, and then I really like Eloy Jimenez as a one-off or in stacks. I like Luis Robert. I forgot to mention Tim Anderson. I have a ton of as well. Byron Buxton. Those are guys who I'm also using in my outfield. AJ Pollock, Acuna. Those are my main guys. And then I do like I mentioned I like all of the Orioles. So Mullins, Hayes, and Santander all fit pretty nicely for me as well. It's a weird slate, and the weather is not helping at all. So it's a little frustrating. Pop in your questions, pop in your thoughts. It's going to be here probably for a good 20 minutes or so. What's up to my man K9, Peyton Wavy, and Sharks? Good to see all you guys in here as always. Yeah, sorry about this. This is why I have to go at 6 Eastern and then pop back on and get the rest of my thing. Bottom of Twins lineup. I kind of like it, Rich. I think it's a really interesting route to go. I like it. I'm on board with the Twins for sure today. They're not my favorite stack, but they are one of them, and they're definitely top 6. So I have no problem with the bottom of the lineup if you want the cheapies. I also like getting to Kepler and Buxton quite a bit, though. That's the only problem. But I'm okay. I'm okay if you want to fade Arias because the position and price, and I'm okay if you want to fade Correa because the position. I do think there's some really good shortstop options. I'm also going to have some Dodger stacks, more on FanDuel than I do on DK, and I don't feel as great about it. They've struggled with lefties. We've seen it a number of times, but I do think that they're in a good enough spot. Good hitting weather, obviously a big bump for them. So I like the idea, especially both Turners, Betts and Will Smith stand out, but a little bit of wind blowing in, not ideal for that, but it is hot, so that should sort of negate, what the Dodgers are used to playing in. But I do like my man Rich's call on the bottom of the Twins lineup. I just think you can try and find a way to get Buxton in there. I would try to do that. What's up to Michael Atkerson? Good to see you in there. And pop in more questions, more thoughts, what you guys are doing. I'm going to take a quick look to see if the lineup is updated for San Diego for me yet. I do not have a San Diego lineup yet. It's great hitting weather, obviously, in Colorado. It's wind blowing out and 83 degrees. And I think you're going to want, even if you're not stacking San Diego, we made the point last night. I mean, of course, a full stack won the big buy-in stuff and everything. But even if you're not stacking, I just think it makes enough sense to try to get a lot of exposure to the value, even just as fillers. I don't think people are going to play Grisham or Azekar down at the bottom of the order if they are at the bottom of the order. So those are the guys who you might want to get overweight on if you are going to make a 5-man Colorado stack. The stacks I had to start today are pretty similar now. I like the Chicago-Baltimore game, both sides. I like the Yankees in Toronto. I like the San Diego value. And I like the Dodgers and Twins we'll see what happens with Seattle and Washington. And I like the White Sox as another one that I'm using, at least pieces of, if not the whole thing. So that's pretty much my little rundown. That's what I've got here. And yeah. All right. So fire on in any questions, fire on in any thoughts. I don't know exactly what else to touch on because that's exactly what I'm doing. You guys have exactly what I'm doing, just waiting for the weather. Is fading Cole just a bad decision? Well, that's the thing is we don't know if Cole you might play 0 of because if the weather is bad, you play you're not playing him. If it's good, I think this is basically as good a matchup as you could ask for, and I would absolutely be overweight on Cole, assuming that everything was good. There's other pitchers sure that can outscore him, but he's got the clearest path. And I think he and Strider would be your just natural guys you play together in your cash games as well as most GPPs. San Fran's fine, 59 degrees. We're sitting. Always tough to pull the trigger, right? Like you have 5 guys who are pinch hit risks. You've got weather that's by far the worst hitting weather on the slate, not even close. Yeah, other than that, I mean, that's why they don't make it for me. So that's why I'm not getting into San Fran, even though I do have pieces of them. Just Ruff could get pinch hit for. Slater is probably going to get pinch hit for. The other one, the catcher, is going to get pinch hit for probably. I mean, we just see it every night with them. So they have to get off to a big lead in order to even not get pinch hit for because we know that San Francisco guys, it's like Tampa Bay from a few years ago. They just play their guys half the game. I mean, Jock Peterson might hit 40 home runs this year, and he's platooning. So, yeah, I think Texas is okay. I have more pieces of Texas. I like Seager. I like Josh Smith. But the spend up for the other guys, I prefer other spend ups to them. I do really like Wilmer Flores, by the way, from San Francisco tonight, no matter what. I don't see him getting pitch hit for very likely. All right. We'll get to this. By the way, everybody keeps hacking my bank account, and it's driving me nuts. I keep buying plane tickets all over the place, and it's really weird. It's really driving me crazy, so I'm trying to keep up with that stuff. So yeah, Texas would be more of a mini option for me, but there's like 11 or 12 stacks I could all say, yeah, those are fine today. I just think that you gotta pick your favorites, and mine being Toronto, maybe more as a mini stack because it is somewhat of a bullpen game. The Dodgers more somewhat of a bullpen game. So I think the Yankees, both sides, Chicago, Baltimore, and the San Diego value are sort of my core. You guys can also see my core on SaberSim. You could see my early builds. Obviously, some things change because some players aren't in the lineups. It's going to happen, but it's pretty much the same idea. And I think I'm going to have to block another person who's I don't know what's going on. I'm getting messages from people I've never heard of before on my phone. I'm getting hacked on my B of A. What is going on with? It's been come on. It's time for some DFS love because I'm certainly not running great in life at the moment. So let's get some DFS luck going. All right. What other thoughts? What other things do we have going on, guys? Pop on in with your other takes. Some stacks you might like that I might have forgotten. I was more interested in Milwaukee until we had no Yelich in that game. Doesn't even really make them that much cheaper. They're just really expensive. And if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I think I'd rather play the other stacks like the Torontos or the White Sox. This is my personal take. All right, let's see if there's anything else before I'm going to get out of here if there's nothing else because I have some work to do on my lineups and some other stuff I have to take care of before 6:30 when I'm going to do my final weather check. But I would love to talk to you guys if you're here. So I still got 18 minutes or 15 minutes more realistically. But yeah, that's where I'm at. The guy who I'm not, you know what I'm going to do? I just made an executive decision. Why do I have one Chris Sale lineup and no? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to, instead of my Chris Sale lineup, I'm going to throw Barrios in there. I just think it makes a little bit more sense. I don't really. Is Chris Sale going to win this slate? I mean, you look at the other side and you're like, oh, he could. And then I don't think that's the case. I would rather take it. I don't know what to do with that one. It's a weird one. Maybe I'll just play one lineup with he and Barrios together just so I can do something. I don't know. It's a really weird spot. When you get to these other pitchers, that's what we have so many like question marks outside of Strider and Cole with their upside. And again, even with guys like Garcia and Cease, there's some question marks. So those are my main four, but I don't think that, if you want to spend up for your bats like Bubic and Otto, Caprillion is even in some of my lineups. Josiah Gray is a weird spend down. Logan Webb to get different at the high end. I guess Barrios and Sale are in the mix. A lot of guys you can use. Just there are two that stand out significantly above the rest if the weather is good, and that's Cole and Strider for me. And with Cease being it's a immovable force. And what is it? What do they say? You have the best strikeout pitcher in baseball, basically, or he's been the best strikeout pitcher in baseball against a team who doesn't strike out. I'm going to play some. I'm going to be in the 20s percentile on Cease, and it will probably be higher if I really feel nervous about Cole. Atlanta is expensive. So my take on Atlanta is you're betting on the weather. We treat David Peterson like why are we going to treat David Peterson like I think he's a reasonable play, by the way. He might be a better play than either Barrios or Sale, to be honest with you. And we're going to treat him like he sucks. Why exactly? Like the guy's put up 24 or more, 3 out of his last 4. He has good stuff. He's got good pedigree. He's going to be a good pitcher for a long time. Not a great pitcher probably, but a good pitcher. We've seen double-digit strikeouts from him recently. I don't see Atlanta as being the stack that everyone thinks it is. Now, there's certainly power in that Atlanta lineup. They can always go off. They're a lot of power there, especially with Michael Harris down at the bottom of the order. To spend that much for those guys and pay down for pitching, wouldn't you want to do that in a good matchup, not a bad matchup? And I don't see this as being a especially good matchup for them. Yeah, Austin Riley. Yeah, Ronald Acuna, for sure. But are we going to play Dansby Swanson over, I don't know, Tim Anderson, let's say? Not me, just Trey Turner. I just don't like any of their players per position for their price over anybody else except for Acuna and Riley potentially, and even those guys I don't think are the best. I think Acuna might be the best, as good a play in the slate as anybody against a lefty, but especially one you can run on a little bit. But I don't think it's like something you have to do. Again, yeah, getting asked about the Giants. Yeah, we can go ahead and do it, guys. It's 59 degrees. I am not full stacking the Giants. I have some small stacks of the Giants. It's a full slate. You got to question, and also, how do the Giants score runs? Look at the other night when they scored like 8 runs. I think 7 of them were driven in by guys who pinch hit. So who are you playing? Who are you playing that actually is going to get there at bats? I mean, they would have to race up to like a 6-0 lead in order for these guys to even play a full game. Not to mention, you won't even have a lineup out from them most likely, because I'm guessing they don't have it released. They're usually the last team to release their lineups. Freaking San Francisco. But I mean, all of these guys, Estrada, Ruff, Mercedes, Slater, every one of those guys, even Bart down to the bottom. So you have 6 out of 9 players that have significant pinch hit risk. It just feels kind of like weird. Like Jock Peterson might end up getting more at bats than any of those guys today. So what are you going to do? Play him off the bench? It just feels like way too cute for me. And on top of it, they're going to be owned. Like they're a chalky. They're one of the chalkier teams. Flores, Mercedes, and Slater are going to be really popular. And I like those guys as one-offs, especially Flores. But I don't know if I can do a full stack with. I mean, Brandon Belt. You don't know who's going to come on in for San Francisco. They have plenty of lefties. We don't even know who's starting for them, so it's kind of hard to know. But if there's a lefty starting against a lefty, that's probably what I'd want to do, because I know the pinch hit risk. I know their bullpen. I know what they're going to do in the bullpen. They're going to bring in the opposite arm, and then they're going to end up pinch hitting their whole lineup around. So it's just what happens. That's what they do. Houston on DK. That's a no for me on Houston. No particular interest. Again, it's 13. There's 26 teams. There's a bunch of viable ones, and I think you could include Houston. Houston without their best hitter by far, and expensive against a guy who's turned it around a little bit in Syndergaard. Don't really care to do it. I don't mind any one-offs or mini stack from Houston. I'm just not full stacking in that spot, personally. But again, could it work? Sure. If you're playing a ton of lineups and you don't like to, but if you're going to hone in on 1 or 5 teams, which is probably all you should really be playing usually in tournaments, even if you're playing 150, then you can maybe focus on like 8 to 10 teams on certain slates. But mostly you want to be in the 3 to 5 range that you really want to focus on. And Houston definitely will not be one of those for me. As Rody said, let's get it. Let's see what else we got. Jordan Lyles as an SP2 on DK. Sadly, I think that's viable. I love the Cubs. I'm siding with the Cubs. But I'm also going to have a couple of hedge Lyles plays in there. I think Jordan Lyles gets away with a lot that he shouldn't. And he's going, if the conditions are as bad as they say, or as bad as it looks like right now with the wind blowing out, I would rather just pick on Lyles rather than playing him personally. And I also have a note here that so the only extreme hitters umpire on the slate in Moscazo is in the Cleveland game. So that's something else you could keep in mind. Really a shame we didn't have Bieber, because I told Sheets this morning on our show that Bieber was my favorite play on the slate, and of course we have no Bieber. And Bieber put up 35 people, just a complete game, and gave up 1 run. He was awesome today against Chicago, and really a shame we couldn't use him tonight. We could have used a performance like that. Hey, if you tell me I can get 35 for a guy, I'll take it. I actually think I'm surprised. How was it not more than 35? 7 strikeouts, 9 innings, the complete game. Oh, not the shutout. That's why I was overestimating what he did. Anyway, guys, keep firing on in. Please like before you get out of here. We appreciate it. We love it. We love that all you guys are a part of this. We're sorry for the site issues over on Sunday. That was a very strange thing. We're doing some work, always trying to improve. So it's going to come up sometimes, but I do apologize for that. It certainly is not something we like to do over here. Yeah, Rooker, absolutely, but you got to make sure he's in the lineup first, and we still don't have a Padre lineup. So, yes, if Rooker's in the lineup, he's 2K. He's going to be very popular, and I think he's fine. That's where I'm at on Rooker. I already mentioned that one, though. And let's see. Doesn't look like there's any other questions popping on in here. Fire them on in if you do have anything else. By the way, I'll throw out another name for your get weird pitching guys. It would be Sampson for Chicago. You could say Lyles and Sampson both have the upside. And I think there's also, but I personally am siding with the stacks. And Vegas doesn't have this total quite as high. If you started seeing the 5 for either of these teams in this matchup, I think where I would assume that the wind is powerful enough. It's early on today. I had 12 miles an hour blowing out to right center. Now I've got it at 9 miles an hour, getting to be a little bit more cross field. So it's maybe not quite the initial hitting circumstance I thought, in which case I'm going to have to lower my Cubs. No interest in the Phillies. If you stack the Phillies on this slate, now while it could work, I'm just going to say that is not an optimal way of playing DFS. When you have so many teams that are so reasonable, and so do you think that? I guess that brings up the question: do you think Berríos is one of the worst 13 one of the worst 5 pitchers on the slate? If you do, you're wrong. And now, could he get hit around? Sure. Yeah, of course. Doesn't mean he's going to. And I haven't found myself with any Philly love at all. I don't know if I have any players from Philly even playing. There's just a lot of teams to choose from. And I'm just going to, go through it about Berríos. Like, he does give up home runs. So maybe a one-offs or something like that. But why would we need to go stack against a guy who's actually decent? Sure, he's been blown up a couple times this year. It happened to everybody by this point of the season. Garrett Cole was absolutely shattered in that one game. I mean, it just happens. But I can't get behind Philadelphia as a stack. It's certainly not a full stack on this slate. No, I don't like the Rockies at all today. I don't think I have any Rocky more than maybe 2 in a lineup, and that's just a little bit of here and there, and because guys are cheap. But I have no interest in trying to pick on Clevenger, who in reality is probably one of the better pitchers on the slate. And I don't really see a team that's terrible against righties as being a great option, even in Coors. I do like that they're going to be low owned, and they're in Coors, and it's great hitting weather. But Clevenger's a very talented pitcher who's just getting back to himself right now. They did hit him pretty good last time, but again, they didn't hit, I don't know, no home runs, and he's only given up 4 home runs this year. He's a home run every other start kind of a guy so far this season, and he's not been his best. But I'm not on the Rockies side of it. I don't mind it though. I think that's a viable thing to do. I just don't want to pick on good pitchers when I can pick on bad pitchers, and I can do it very cost effectively, which the Rockies mostly aren't, and it's not the best Rockies lineup. Yeah, I'm good with Logan Webb. I don't think it's not the first guy I try to get to. I'd rather Strider probably sees a little bit ahead of Webb, but I think they're both right there, and I do like both. I do like a little Logan Webb. It looks like that's pretty much it for the questions are drying up. I've got a call in 5 minutes, so I am going to get out of here and go get my call. Unless there's any other questions or thoughts, I will give you guys a minute to respond, but that is where I'm at. And I hope that let's have a true DFS takedown tonight. We'll be in Discord. I'll be sweating, getting ready for golf. Got a big golf coming up. I'm going to put my priority plays on golf. I'll put my early lineups. I've already got 8 early lineup builds. I'm going to show you guys probably 16 or 20 of my early builds for golf. That's where we're at. Hey, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the kind words to Antonio. Always nice to hear kind words on here when you never know what you're going to get. But now with you guys, you're always the best. So appreciate it. The kind words as always. Thank you guys very much. And let's get them tonight. Let's have a true DFS win. Let's see some screenshots in Discord. It's time to do it. It's been a few days since we've had as many real big ones. So let's get it going. Let's crack it up tonight and let's make some money. So I think this is our slate. All right. Good luck to everybody tonight. And we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards there. Good luck.